Stop clutchless shifting on your motorcycle. You're slowly destroying your bike. Let's get right into it. Before I tell you guys why clutchless shifting is destroying your bike, let's understand the fundamentals of shifting and what's going on when you're shifting your bike normally. To start off with the basics, you're gonna have your engine, which is gonna connect to the clutch, which is gonna connect to the transmission, which is gonna put the power down to the wheels. In a normal shift, you can't have load while you're shifting. What does that mean? That means if we have the engine, and then the clutch, and then the transmission, and then the wheels, all in a line where the power flows from the engine through all these things to the wheels, not having load means that there needs to be a break in that line somewhere so that you can change gears. Why does there need to be a break in that line? So the reason you need to have a break in the line is because when you're changing gears, the transmission is re-gearing itself so that the engine is going to have a different effect on the wheels. Now, if you didn't have a break in the line, that different effect that I'm talking about would happen extremely abruptly, and you get shaking, you get super jerky motions. It wouldn't be smooth at all. It would also cause a lot of extra wear. So the solution is you have the clutch. The clutch's purpose is to be the brake in that line from the engine to the wheels so that you can change gears. The clutch separates everything, you can change gears, and then it reconnects it, and the clutch is there to take on any wear when you re-engage everything back together, which means when you reconnect everything, it's gonna be going at a different speed than it was before. So the clutch is there to specifically take on that wear and to make shifting as smooth as possible. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. All you need to know basically is that the clutch is there to cause a temporary break in this line of things that we said. So engine, clutch, transmission, wheels. So when you shift without the clutch, what are you doing? If the brake isn't happening where the clutch is, the brake has to happen somewhere else. And that's gonna be in the transmission. The way a clutchless shift works is instead of unloading the driveline with the clutch, you're unloading it in the transmission by either getting off the throttle at the right time or getting on the throttle at the right time if it's a downshift. And what that does when you get this timing perfectly synced up is, I think some people call it the float point. I'll put it up on screen, but basically think of these teeth in the transmission resting on each other. Think of it like this, and they're pushing on each other. And when you get off the gas or get on the gas if it's a downshift, what you're doing is you're temporarily leaving just a little bit of space between them to where they're not pushing hard against each other so that you can slip it into the next gear without too much wear, and you can also do it very quickly. So you might be asking, Squid, why would you do one and not the other? So the benefits of clutchless shifting is that it's going to be extremely quick, and there's also less things you have to do. You don't have to use the clutch. The downside with clutchless shifting is that those teeth are metal. So every time you shift, it's going to be metal on metal. That's what's going to be taking that wear, and that's what's going to be taking the impact every time. The clutch is made of a material that's supposed to wear down. That's its only purpose. The only purpose of the clutch is just to get worn down. It's meant to take that impact. The pieces in the transmission are not meant for that. It's metal teeth on metal teeth. And then on a motorcycle at least, you have wet clutches, which means the whole clutch is soaked in oil the whole time, unless you have a Ducati or something fancy like that where it's a dry clutch, similar to a manual transmission on a car. You're gonna have a wet clutch. If you wanna compare things side by side, you have metal teeth on metal teeth versus a clutch disc that is meant to take that impact that's spinning sideways. And then on top of that, it's soaked in oil, so you have even less of an impact, you have less heat transfer. And then another thing is a clutch on a motorcycle is gonna be a few $100s. A transmission on a motorcycle is gonna be a few $1,000s. So really think about what part do you wanna be using for what, and what part was made for what. You have a $300 clutch that was only put on the transmission to do that one thing, versus a $3,000 transmission, which is not meant to do that at all. It's not meant to take on wear. It's not meant to take on impact. It's metal on metal, so when you shave it, it's gone. Now you might say, Squid, that's not true, because some motorcycles even come with quick shifters. And you might be slightly right. So motorcycles that come with quick shifters they're not bypassing that issue where when you shift on a motorcycle without a clutch, you still have metal on metal, you still have teeth against other metal teeth. The difference with motorcycles that come with quick shifters is that they have extremely precise and sensitive sensors to cut spark at the perfect time. They also know exactly where these parts are and when they need to be moved. So it's a whole computerized system that has information and data that you don't have as a human. And on top of that, it's also able to do it better than you are every single time because it's a computer. Now, with that having been said, even with a quick shifter, you're still gonna have more wear on those teeth than you will if you just use the clutch. It's probably not gonna be anything noticeable, but at the end of the day, the brake in the driveline is still happening in the transmission opposed to the clutch. So anywhere that does happen with a quick shifter will still happen there, not on the clutch. And all of this leads me to my last point, which is it is actually worth it for some people. If you're on a track, you're drag racing, you're in the canyons, you're not doing it all the time, your technique is perfect when you do it, you might say it's worth it, and it might be worth it to you. Your shifts will be faster than if you use a clutch, that's for sure. But you need to understand that you're trading the life of your transmission for those extra milliseconds of shift time. Me personally, I'm pretty good at clutchless shifting myself, but I still don't do it that often, just because I want this bike to last. The bike's already at 35,000 miles. I know if I always clutchless shift, if I'm always beating on it, I'm using a part that was not made to do that. The clutch is a few $100. I'd rather spend a few extra milliseconds shifting with the clutch than blowing out the transmission. So it really just depends on what type of riding you do and if it's worth it for you. The main point is to just understand that when you're clutchless shifting, there is a cost. And you might not notice it in 10,000 miles, you might not notice it in 30,000 miles. You might not even notice it throughout the whole life of the bike. So I would say unless you're on the track, unless you're in the canyons, unless you've decided that you need those extra few milliseconds and you want to shift without the clutch, it's really not worth it. The clutch is right here. It's a few $100. Just use the clutch. I hope you guys found the video useful. And if you guys have any comments, if you guys have any questions, or if you guys disagree with me, maybe I left some things out, leave them below and I'll respond to all you guys.